Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Calvin Cooper on the line, and he is co-founder and COO over at Neurometric AI. Calvin, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Excited to be back with you again. This is our second time doing an interview.
Yeah, come on, return guest. That's what I'm talking about. So today we're going to get into the human layer, why AI transformation starts with systems thinking. But before we do that, we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with what we like to call our Mission Matters Minute. So Calvin, at Mission Matters, our aim and our goal is to amplify stories for entrepreneurs, for executives, for experts. That's what we do. Calvin, what mission matters to you?
Yeah, so this is somewhat controversial to say these days, but I am a capitalist. I believe that democratic capitalism is the best system for creating prosperity and liberation on all fronts, whether that's personal, professional. So that's not just about wealth building, it's about autonomy and freedom. And so I have a passion for that and democratizing technology and financial markets. So everything I do kind of ties back to that thing.
Love it, Calvin. And great having you back on. And I'm a big fan of capitalism too, as are many of our listeners. So happy to get into this a little bit further. But for the audience that maybe didn't catch some of our earlier work together, let's go back in time a bit here. Like entrepreneur, I see co-founder here. Like how'd you get started?
That's a pretty open-ended question. How'd I get started? I'd have to go way back. I think
when you were on the playground, would we have been friends? What would have been your product? Mine was baseball cards. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think entrepreneurship is like Elon said it best. It's like chewing glass, staring into the abyss.
I wasn't doing that when I was in middle school. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just not something that you recommend that people do or pursue or want to be. It's not something that I view as something that I want to do as much as something that I have to do and just end up doing, whether or not I try to. You end up just having insight, interacting with reality in the market. You end up around interesting people, and then you have to scratch that itch, and that turns into a company. And then next thing you know, you have investors and customers, and that cycle repeats itself. Whether I'm in Columbus, Ohio, or New York, or heck, after I sold my last company, I was in Brazil, not working. And next thing you know, you're around entrepreneurs, touring properties in Cambodia. It's just like, you just
When did you realize, was it like a progression for you, or was there an aha moment? Like, when did you realize that's just what you do? I mean, entrepreneurship, not necessarily the current business.
This
how did you know?
Odd, but fairly recently I became to accept that about myself.
It's not odd. I don't think that's odd at all. Like we all try to fight certain things. That's good.
Yeah. It's kind of something that, like, when I was in venture early, like in my career, and then I started like my first venture back company, I think identity wise, I don't know. I just always never considered myself like this label entrepreneur, because it's become so in vogue. Like people try to chase it, and you're like, I'm not a wannabe. But if I look at my life, my whole life I've been, selling things. And so I could, on both sides of my family, entrepreneurship is part of our family. And I didn't inherit. My grandfather on my mom's side was disinherited, but you had this Black family in the last century just owning skating rinks and grocery stores and selling parts to GM and Dayton. And then on my dad's side, my great-grandmother,
very brick and mortar businesses. Yeah. Like that's awesome.
Yeah. So I saw, not only the hollowing out of industry in America on that front, but then just what happens when people, their choices impact their kids and their grandkids. So like my grandfather being an alcoholic and disinherited, I just grew up hearing the stories of family business and entrepreneurship, but that wasn't my reality. And same on my dad's side, my great grandmother owned real estate, Robin Weaver, and Dayton. And so you have not just somebody who's Black, but in those times, being a woman was an issue. You couldn't even do
Yeah.
things without a bank account. But she
So
was
legit
real
pioneer. That's
estate,
awesome. Yeah.
and she owned a restaurant too, Robin's Nest, and sold to be factory workers. So that's just in the background,
Mm.
And when I was a kid, I would always find myself tinkering. Like, I got in trouble, and in hindsight, I didn't know why this was an issue.
Mm.
But when I was 10, um, and I got one of those AOL discs. My mom wanted to get on Ancestry.com. My stepdad didn't want us to be, he was going to hook up the internet, but he was just delaying. So I just got the modem and installed stuff and got us on there for free. And he freaked out. And I'm like, why am I being punished for this? Why is he so angry? But the internet was scary back then. You have all these stories in the news and, crazy stuff happening. And so that is kind of crazy. But then next thing I just wanted to play Command and Conquer online with my friend across the street. But then, fast forward months, next thing you know, I'm using my paper route money to buy a CD burner. And the next thing you know, I'm using Napster. And the next thing you know, I'm listening to music on the bus, and people are like, "Oh, you got the CD? Can I borrow it?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, well, I'm like, "Well, can you make me a CD?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, those cost money. The CD, I'm using my lunch money to buy CDs to burn. And if I'm going to spend my time, then I'm going to charge a margin. So sure, I'll sell it to you for $5. So next thing you know, I'm selling that. Then I had fast forward in high school, I had a candy business.
Yeah.
And I did my first acquisition actually at that time. It's a funny story. And so these things, they just kind of follow you. You're just always in situations where you see opportunities to coordinate resources and fill a need and charge for it.
It sounds to me like if we're going back to the Napster, or even just the early days of the internet computer, was tech always kind of like a fascination or a part of it for you, or a thing?
Yeah, I mean, my dad was a professor, and he had moved to Virginia. My grandma did too. So I would visit over the summers, and then he decides to turn his hobby in photography into a business. And here's kind of an insight on how I think. I'm like, Dad, that's crazy. If you look at the trajectory of the internet, and every year, cameras are getting better, that job's going to be automated, and you're going to have less demand for wedding photographers in school and portraits. So that's a stupid idea, I thought. But I'm like 12, 13, thinking about market trajectories. And then,
that's
but he a website. So I'm like, you're gonna quit.
What was he like? He's like, man, this little kid, where'd he come from?
Like an artist, so he loves it. He's like a philosopher. My mom was like Pentecostal Christian, and my dad's a philosopher, Nietzsche. So I'd have to read Nietzsche when I visited him. And so he's more like artistic, not really commercial. He's like a communist, So I get both sides of the argument, and that's a whole nother story. But I think a lot of people project intent in the wrong way. On both sides. Most people have good intent, but that you can separate that from policy impact. But anyway, he's not a commercial guy in terms of
he was doing it for the love of the photograph,
for the love of it, right? And so he quits to pursue that, and and so he needs a website and stuff like that at the time. That gives you an edge, and so I built the website. I get a book and I learn some coding then, and I built websites.
Wow.
But then I think if I'm going to pursue this further beyond kind of not really coding well, that's a lot of time. And I thought maybe that's something I could hire other people to do. So
you were thinking time at that young of an age. You were thinking about time and maximizing your time.
Yeah, I didn't want to spend time becoming an expert in that.
Interesting.
I viewed it more as, I don't know, like vulnerable,
Yeah.
because it's tractable. It's something that you can. It's like learning a language, a second
Hmm.
language. So
Hmm.
it's not ambiguous enough to, and I just wasn't
Yeah.
passionate about it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of like my origin. But then the path to venture really started in college, because I like had this stupid entertainment business,
Mm.
and next thing you know, some investors and stuff, and I was making money like throwing parties, and how I ended up doing that was just similar as everything else. It's like me and my friends are throwing parties, and we're in the frat and
Yeah.
leadership, and I'm like, why am I spending money? And at the time, right, this is when buying bottle service and lines
Hmm.
outside of clubs was a thing. So I'm like, we could just be making money instead of spending money. Why don't we book a club? And I was 20. Here's the thing,
Wow.
nobody checks your ID when you're buying the club. So
Oh,
I'm
that
like,
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
so I'm like, why are we buying cakes when we can make money? So then I'm making thousands of dollars doing that. And I'm
Yeah.
also doing some music production, because everybody wants to be in music, and you
Mm.
can charge for that, and engineering. So I teach myself engineering for sound. And then next thing you know, I find myself as I've always been like a straight A almost student, but then I
Mm.
drop out and move to Atlanta and just completely fail within months. And so I was just like working the Apple store, and um, you're, I just saw it. I didn't know what I wanted to do
Mm.
necessarily
Hmm.
with my skills and interests. I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I kind of liked fundraising and had raised some money and turned it into some money, like on a small way. So there's the deck and the budget and the persuasion, but also like the ops and execution and contract writing. I end up doing that in all these domains.
Hmm.
But then I'm also less extroverted than people would realize, because I actually pump myself up to be more, in,
Yeah.
um,
Go do what you
and
got
so
to
that,
do. Yeah.
yeah, and so like I enjoy it, but it's like I usually have like a co-founder type person who's a lot more uh,
Yeah. That's
like
what I got. The other
social.
one here, Chirag Cigar. There you go. The other co-founder. He's the more social one. I'm
Yeah,
like, let me just sit back and do my interviews. You go out there,
yeah.
Chirag, and do what you do.
I
Exactly.
can turn it on, but it's not like I recharge
Yeah.
by myself. And
Mm.
so I'm like, what is all this? You got the finance and the technical and interest in tech and different industries, and it's weird, you know? And I was
Yeah.
at math several years. So just got this weird background. I don't know what to do with. So
Mm.
I'm like, you know what I'll do is I'll just I got this job at the Apple retail because I need to buy time before I just
Yeah.
get back to school and stuff. And I'm like, I got 1 year left. And so I'm like, man, I took a leave of absence as an option, actually.
Mm.
So instead of drop out. And
Hmm.
so like I was like, what do I do? I need a plan. So I'm activating iPhones and iPads because the iPad just comes out.
Hmm.
This is just iPhones are like still like new. Like I had a sidekick. And so this is fun. I'm learning some interesting things from their
Hmm.
process
Of
of sale.
course.
And it's to inquire, like, why are you buying this laptop? You're not to
Mm.
upsell, right? In fact, somebody can come in and say they want the Mac with the most,
Yeah.
upgrades, but they'll tell you if they just need to send emails, like to sell them, the MacBook Air or
Yeah.
something.
What they need.
They want a long-term relationship. And so anyway, I turned that into interviewing people about what they do in life, which oddly
Mm.
enough is helpful because you're landing business clients there. So I'm like, oh, what do you do? And I'm listening for their actual day, like what they
Mm.
actually do day to day,
Yeah.
because there's a big disconnect between what you call like a VC and what you actually do, right? Like
Mm. Hmm.
people think, and same with entrepreneurship. And I'm met a VC and he explains what he does, and I'm like, oh my god! I wrote in my journal that day in my car. I was like, I'll be a VC in 5 years. So
Interesting.
in hindsight, that was fucking delusional. That was freaking delusional. But like I set it and I put it on my Google Calendar with the annual repeat to check in to see am I closer or further away. And about 5 years later, I was in venture. And so that's kind of like
Wow.
that started.
That's a great story. That's a great story. And I see like each stage. Let's get into what you're working on present day with Neurometric AI. So maybe just start with a little bit about the company and why a lot of different things you could do with your skill set. Why this idea? Why this venture? Why now?
So Neurometric, we're making SLMs easy. So it's orchestration and small language models. They're task-specific small language models to deploy AI that's faster, cheaper, and purpose-built. And this is a big shift we saw happening in the market last year when we came together. The story and the main thesis was in venture. The dominant story is that scale, larger models, scaling compute, artificial general intelligence, one model to move them all or win them all. But if you think critically, you're like, most tasks you don't need a surgeon or you don't need world history as knowledge to like schedule a meeting, right? And so that's a waste of compute and resources. And we have a lot of scale, but we need to use what we have more efficiently. And if you're reading papers on archive, and Rob was like in the team, we're like even before formation, we're deep in reading these computer science papers coming out of academia or labs. And we didn't get into my background in venture or my last startup and the sale of that company was consumer fintech. It wasn't deep tech AI infra. So I had decided to move to New York and I get introduced to Rob and we're hanging out at Knicks games and then we're hanging out in between. You're just hanging out with other entrepreneurs. And as he explains the ideas they're investigating, I'm just reading and sending thoughts back. And he's like, dude, why don't you co-found this with me and come on as COO? And I'm like, this is deep tech AI infra, which is not my usual lane. But he's like, you're already kind of doing the job. And so I'm like, okay, let's go.
Wow. How did you that's awesome. I love when someone, and for you to go into a new lane, as you put it, like what was that like when you started, like when you finally made that commitment and like, as you start looking into the abyss? I'm going to use what you said earlier.
Like a lot of things in my life. It's kind of more organic than it's kind of like you're doing it before you are labeled that. I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize about the greatness about an economy that's a capitalist market at scale. There's so much ability to do things before you have that label or the ability to execute without permission. So it happens more natural than you think. And a lot of skills are transferable more than people think.
So a lot going on in AI right now. I know that's probably an understatement. Where does Neurometric AI fit in the marketplace? Like, where do you see this going?
Yeah, it's interesting. So last summer, when you're talking to even VCs or other people in this space, concepts like inference time compute are more fringe, right? It wasn't until even last fall that you got a router at when you're using ChatGPT's ecosystem where it just auto picks the right model for you or things like that, right? Things have evolved quickly to where our hypothesis is being proven more right externally in the market. There's been a lot of progress with open source LLMs and SLMs in the market and vibe coders out there now with OpenClaw. And so it's no longer a hunch or a hypothesis that's debatable about where the market's going. You're seeing what not only we thought would happen, but then customer conversations early on are indicating internally. But it's it's April, into April now, and
Months. Yeah.
in August. It's been months, and you're seeing what we knew privately. Once we started validating our hypothesis, being talked about publicly. Like AT&T's chief data science officer was publicly talking about how the exploding costs caused them to have to rethink their AI infrastructure. And they cut AI costs by 90%, even as they scaled from I think it was 8 billion tokens a day to about 30 billion tokens a day. And they did this by building an orchestration layer around SLMs. And so while people might say, oh, is it going to be an oligopoly of model providers like Anthropic or OpenAI that absolutely dominate, and there's no room for opportunity for others, are overlooking not only reason, which would land you where we did, but also now market data and companies moving in this direction where you're building multi-model architectures and you're incorporating many small language models. And here's the thing, the companies doing this isn't where they get competitive advantage unless there's some tech company, deep tech company that's what they're looking to do. No, companies are doing this out of necessity, and they want to externalize this eventually when there's some kind of option at scale. A, and B, there's some economies of scale and network effects and advantages to having a neutral layer. And you saw this happen with CDNs and other things. So that's another point. And then lastly, I'll mention is things kind of rhyme more than people think. It's not like how markets evolve isn't always directly predictable. But if you think just loosely about how communications infrastructure evolved with text messages or internet with bandwidth, you go from paying per text to unlimited, right? Or paying for just more bandwidth, but unlimited now, right?
Right, for sure.
And that's going to happen in AI. And so where we're at kind of with the evolution of both the market validation and our execution is that here, what we said is no longer debatable. Whether you believe it or not is just whether you're accepting the data in the market or not. But the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed. So you can see the trajectory of enterprise deployment of AI move from, I'm just going to go with making something work with the most expensive solution. Nobody gets fired for hiring IBM. Nobody gets fired for hiring Anthropic. But where did they go next? Once it works and you scale it, it becomes cost prohibitive. And how do I reduce my costs? Oh, and then there's this risk. I got vendor lock-in, and now this is a critical part of our business, right? So it's a logical progression you can get through reasoning that way. But then you say, okay, that's my hypothesis. But then you say, okay, boom, data point. Now it's happening, not just with some of our customers, but now with customers publicly, like AT&T and VentureBeat a few weeks ago talking about it, right? But now what's debatable that people don't see, but is obvious to us, is that even while token, costs decline with some of these providers, Jevons paradox applies. So people use more and more and more. So there's an ever increasing demand for efficiency. And there's those other reasons why you want task specific models, because they can perform better when trained on proprietary data. And you want to not have vendor lock-in, right? That kind of leverage critical systems. And then there's compliance reasons as well. So you've got this confluence of issues. And so the shift that's going to happen is there will be dominant players in
Yeah.
this SLM task specific space. And it's not simple routing, right? It's making these models easy to deploy, train, and scale in production. It's a complicated problem. And then after that, so our mission at Neurometric is to make intelligence free, essentially. And that's a vision that you'll never reach. It'll never be exactly free, but it can be essentially free, where it's unlimited intelligence available in a more democratic way, and it's cheap enough.
Yeah.
And so that's our goal. So that means and our team reflects this. That means you have to be able to go from where we are now with orchestration to SLMs, to then hosting those, to then getting into the hardware down to the silicon, because you've got to keep going.
Yeah.
So that's where we're heading.
It's great. Calvin, this has been fun, man. Love having you back on. I got to ask, I'll do a timestamp for us right now. So it's April 21st as we're going live right now. What excites you right now in the market? Like what's next?
I mean, we just launched our SLM marketplace and Claw Pack. And so we've got these bundles of SLMs. And I mean, we've been excited about the adoption already. I mean, you've got thousands of people come to the site, and we just turned on paid 2 days ago.
That's what I'm talking about. Bring that news over here, Calvin.
Yeah, you're already getting paid users converting.
Wow.
So that's usually unexpected. So that's exciting to see that it's happening so quickly.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited about being able to serve customers and deliver intelligence, even as Anthropic makes things way more expensive for OpenClaw users. We're not giving them a free solution with 100 million tokens a month and a paid solution for unlimited. And it's economically viable for us to do that because we have the tech team who can deliver that solution the way that's economically viable. And that's exciting, not just because it's technically interesting, but also because OpenClaw is cool. You know, it's democratizing intelligence, and it's a real breakthrough. And we're able to offer a solution that's giving people the ability to not have that kind of vendor lock-in we talked about. So not only can you commoditize the model layer, I think AI is the most important technology we've ever invented. So absolute power corrupts absolutely. So it's really important that you democratize access to intelligence. And
dropping the knowledge today on absolute power.
I'm excited to play a role in that, even if small.
It's amazing. Calvin, how do people follow up? How do they learn more about Neurometric AI? If people want to follow your journey as an entrepreneur, how do people connect?
Yeah, so just go to neurometric.ai, so our website, and then myx.com. You just go to Cooper _NYC_. So you can follow me, and feel free to DM or reach out.
Fantastic. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so that you can click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. You heard me correct. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So hit that subscribe or follow button. And Calvin, man, great having you back on, and congrats on the success. 2 days in, already getting paid users, man. It's amazing, man. I'm happy to cover this story, and thanks for bringing it to us.
Thanks. I appreciate it. And I think I'll see you in LA in a couple of weeks for milking.
Let's do it.
That'll be
exciting. That's right. Oh my gosh. It's already milking season. April 21st right now. Yeah, see you early May. Yeah, we'll be there.
All right. Thanks.